What's up? It's Jeremy Picker from Amber Creative.
This is Deanna with In the Zoning and Print Girl Mafia.
This is Ray Weiss with Printing the Night of the Lion.
You're listening to the Two Regular Guys podcast.
Hosted by Terry Combs RG, Regular Guy, and Aaron Montgomery.
The place to be for industry news.
The best dad jokes on earth, along with relevant topics to apparel decorating.
Fashion to the people.
Welcome to the show. It is Friday, February 23rd, 2024. I'm Terry Combs, and you can find me at terrycombs.com.
Way to say 2024. I still, this late in the year, I'm messing it up. But my name is Aaron.
The fact that it's the end of February already. I'm going to get those resolutions done.
I gave up on those. No. All right. Well, my name is Aaron Montgomery, and I'm with Our Success Group. And my mission is to inspire you to fall deeper in love with your business. And today, Terry, we are going to break down some of the top secret sauce episodes. So we've got, I don't know, we're close to 30 or 40 different secret sauce clips out there. You can actually go to our YouTube channel. We'll put a link into the show notes there that you can go and watch all of the last of them. And we said, okay, well, let's go find some of the top ones here and let's just break it down a little bit more. Let's talk about, what we were hoping, what the intentions of, what kind of the key points were, and see if there's any other things to glean out of them. So I'm excited to do that with you here today, Terry.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. And maybe a little bit of why we thought it is, each one of these is a secret sauce. So, and speaking of secret sauce, make sure you stay to the very end and get your helping of secret sauce. And we have a guest chef today, Dane Clement, and he's serving up how to set up proper size and resolution for raster AI artwork. So make sure you hang around for that because Dane always has some secrets to share.
Yeah. Love. Dane's our official art guy. So I love that we get to bring him in and have him participate in the secret sauce too. I'm sure this is going to rocket to the top of the charts for the secret sauce out there. Exactly. But well, before we do that, Terry, though, we do have Adrienne back, and she's with dtfprinting.com, and she's going to be sharing the news with us this week. Very busy week for them. They've got their expo this week as well. So let's hear a quick word from Adrienne with the news.
Sounds good.
Hey everyone, I'm coming to you from sunny Phoenix, Arizona. Today is the first day of DTF Expo. If you're here, here's a few things you can look forward to. DTF Printing is hosting education sessions today and tomorrow with top experts in the apparel industry, like Nicole Pape, Stephen Farrig, Sergio Ramirez, Marshall Atkinson, and more. Plus, I'm hosting a panel tomorrow with previous guests of the DTF Printing podcast, Kim Johnson, Denise Bayer, and Gerald Gelito. Tonight, we're having a happy hour from 5 to 7 p.m. at Huss Brewery, and tomorrow we're announcing the winner of the inaugural DTF Printing t-shirt contest. Plus, the trade show floor is completely full with vendors ready to talk all things DTF Printing. If you can't make it, follow us on Instagram at DTFPrintingCom throughout this weekend. All education sessions will be posted to our YouTube account. In other news, Keypoint Intelligence has launched its direct-to-film test program. Tests are conducted at the manufacturer's facility over a 2-day period. Keypoint Intelligence tests speed, ink consumption, image quality, and washability. Each device tested receives a detailed 12-page report, which contains all the data gathered over the course of testing. This year, Keypoint will run a series of group tests to provide more education in the DTF space. The first test looks at washing factors and how they can impact garment durability. And last, Printing United Alliance, a member-based printing and graphic arts association, Brand Chain, a community for the brand solutions supply chain, and the Print Education and Research Foundation, PERF, an organization dedicated to providing research and education to the printing industry, have announced a merger. This strategic alliance will bring together the three organizations that are committed to advancing the printing industry through collaboration, education, and innovation. The target date for this merger is April 1st of this year. That's it from me. See you at DTF Expo.
All right. And I'm going to be seeing Adrienne this weekend at the DTF Expo here in Phoenix. So looking forward to chatting with her. But Aaron, we can't go any further without a dad joke. And you're the contributor of that today. Are you ready?
I am ready. I'm trying to live up to your standard, though, Terry. You've been carrying us very well, and I actually now make sure that I copy yours out and then go make sure I tell my son, and he gets rave reviews too. So I'm hoping to live up to it here. This is actually thanks to the calendar that I got from my friend Michelle Wilson. So Terry, if you're ready for the dad joke, let's do it.
I am. I read ahead. This is a good one.
All right, here we go. All right, Terry. Well, do you know how much space is needed to grow fungi?
No, I don't. How much is needed?
As mushroom as possible.
If Eric were with us today, he would be typing out much room and mushroom.
Yes. And I always struggle with the word fungi too, because it's fun guy. And so that the little second half of the dad joke there.
All right. Well, before we go any further, we want to thank everybody for checking out the Two Regular Guys podcast. We still need your voices. We would love to have regulators participate in our show intros. So go to decorators.inc/intro and just read a few sentences and be a part of the show. Don't be left out. We want as many voices as we can get.
Yep.
We are always looking for new guests. So if you or anyone you know would like to join us, go to calendly.com/2 regular guys to book a future episode, or you can email us at info@2regularguys.com and share your show ideas. And even if you don't want to be on the show, if you have ideas, we would love to hear that as well. If you are listening to the podcast version of the show, we would appreciate you sharing the Two Regular Guys podcast with all of your industry friends so they can become regulators too. And we would very much appreciate you giving us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, wherever you do your podcast listening. And if you're watching us live right now, please join in with your comments, and look forward to doing a little secret sauce here, Aaron.
Yeah, we'll get through to that, and so let's do that. Let's cover these. And again, so the whole point of secret sauce was, okay, can we leave people with like one really tasty morsel, right? The something that maybe they could just put into use right away. And we said, okay, let's try to keep them in that 2 to 5 minute range. I know I don't always keep them in that range, so I apologize in advance, but 7-8 minutes, right? So less than 10. How about that?
Yeah. And Aaron, when I was talking about doing 52-15 training, 52 weeks, 15 minutes of training, and I always say people don't quite know where to start with that. Well, here's a great place to start. Just go and start grabbing, depending on what kind of business you have, start grabbing some of those secret sauce and play them on your production floor, in your offices, and then have that conversation with your staff about how it relates to you. So perfect place to start with your weekly 52-15 training.
That's awesome. And honestly, you could probably do what we're planning on doing here, right? Like you said, listen to them, take them in, and we won't do that part of it, but you guys will do that, and then break them down, right? Break it down. What are the key points? How can we implement that in our shop, in our business right here today? And I think that, like you said, will go a long way. And if you've got 5 to 10 minutes of video and about 5 minutes of conversation, man, just imagine how much further ahead your shop's going to be, Terry. That's pretty cool.
Absolutely. The first weekend, you'll probably have done more training than any of your competitors. That's week 1. And week 52, you're going to be in great shape. So
yeah, love it.
And Aaron, I've really enjoyed putting these together. I don't know about you, because I thought, oh boy, this is going to be every third week. This is going to be work to do this. But I've got a big list of ones I'm about to put together. So I'm kind of excited about the whole thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it is always great. And I was right there with you. It's like, okay, this is kind of cool. I like the idea. but yes, there's that content creation requirement. But no, I mean, it's kind of like you said, I'm growing a list too. I wish I could do it every week, because it's like, oh, you got that question, or I thought about this thing. Well, let's make a secret sauce out of that. So that's a lot of fun. I agree.
Well, how about you start us off then with one of yours?
Yeah, definitely. And so what we did is we went and looked and said, okay, which ones are we didn't go like most popular, but we wanted to get kind of the top, most number of views basically is what we were going for here. And we kind of went down through the list, and these are in no particular order here, but the first one that showed up for us was a secret sauce that I did on the 15th of December, 2023. And it was titled How to Build a Business That You Love. And so, Terry, I thought maybe what I could do is there was a couple of kind of key points. And so why don't, and we'll do the same with yours. The key point, I'll share the key point. Let's talk about it real quick, and then we'll hit the next one. So the first kind of point that I wanted to make in this secret sauce was just the importance of having a business owner mindset, right? It's this idea of kind of moving beyond chasing the short-term trends or external validation, and instead really focusing on building a solid foundational mindset for long-term success. It's about being invested in it, about making your business part of who you are. And so I guess what I was hoping people would take away with it is that there is a different mindset from being a business owner to being an employee. And even if you're a listener out here that is an employee, you can still have that business owner mindset when it comes to your responsibilities. And so I guess, Terry, what would be your take on that kind of an idea? What's a business owner mindset to you?
And I love the way you say, even if you work for somebody else, have that mindset, and because that's how you can be successful even in your job, is treat it like you own it. And couple of points. Being an entrepreneur is not for everybody. There's risks involved, but man, the rewards so far outweigh that. And there are parts of it that you're going to like to do, parts of it that you aren't going to like to do. But in today's world, it's easy to partner up and job out some of those things that maybe you're not as good at. A lot of screen printers are very, very creative, but maybe not so great with the books, things like that. But it's something I always tell people, that being an entrepreneur gives you the freedom to work all the hours there are in the day. So there's a lot. There's a lot of commitment you have to it, but it's a great way to build your fortune and for your own mental health as well. I think in running a business.
For sure. Well, that's interesting, Terry, because I was having a conversation last week with one of the Masters of Success members, and we were just talking about all the things she wants to do and getting back on track, and so I was kind of covering with her what my, kind of how I manage the projects and things like that, and how I look at it. And I kind of look at things on a week by week basis. And I put in the most important priority things into my calendar. And then I let all of the rest of, everybody else's needs for me fill in around that. And we were talking about, okay. And then, and then on Saturday I do this, and, and then I make some time on Sunday, and she was really struggling with that whole concept. And she's like, it sounds like you work 7 days a week. I'm like, well, I do, but I work less when I'm in this modality than I would have worked if I was working 40 hours a week, Monday through Friday. Right. Yes, but you know what? If I'm tired, I sleep in. If I need to go do something with my family, I do that. So it's not that I'm working 7 days a week. I'm not working 168 hours a week. Like you said, we have that right, but we also have the flip side of that. Right. And so I think that's because for me, I need to spread that out. I've got so many things that I want to do beyond what I'm doing with my business, and my business is demanding a lot of me as well. So but I get the choice there. I get to make that decision and make that fit within the realm of what I'm doing. So I think
I think that's more on the front end than once you get everything going. But the beauty of that is you're most excited on the front end too. So you don't mind putting in those extra hours and getting systems in place. But then it's all about getting the systems and building your business and understanding how to deal with employees and things like that. And then it's clockwork. I one time when I was running 75 production floor employees, not my business, I was the plant manager, and I went on vacation for 2 weeks, 2 whole weeks at one time. And I came back and he said, one of the owners said, it's like we didn't even need you here. And I said, you're welcome. And he goes, what do you mean you're welcome? I'm like, 5 years ago, could you have taken a 2-week vacation? Well, no, I couldn't have. I'm like, well, now you can, because there are systems in place and this place runs like clockwork now.
Yep.
So,
that's,
anyway,
I love that.
We're not going to get through our list here.
We'll do it. I did have one because I was also crazy enough having another sit down. It's amazing how these things kind of flow back, right? It's a law of attraction. But I was having another sit down with another client of mine, and we were talking about kind of what they're doing, and they're brand new. So he's started a handyman business actually, and the passion that he's got for it and what they're doing, and it's really cool. And we were just talking about that, right? Again, having that balance between going all in and also making sure that you're not neglecting your family and doing the things that you need to do and love to do and whatnot. And a quote came up for both of us there, and I don't know exactly who to attribute it to, but the idea is, as an entrepreneur, you've got to work like nobody else is willing to, so you can live the rest of your life living like nobody else can. Right. And that's
that's very good.
Yeah. All right. Well, again, we got to get through this. So let's the next kind of point that stood out for me, Terry, was the reality that the things that we need to do to be successful, again, whether you're the business owner, whether you're trying to be successful in your role, whatever your role is, the reality of it, it's a very uncommon mindset because we want to complicate it. We want to look for that magic bullet, but the things that we need to do on a day-to-day basis are very simple in concept, right? It's do the things, take one step forward, be persistent, things like that. But the challenge becomes the complexity of executing it, right? We have to be okay with it not being instant gratification. We have to be willing to fail. In fact, we almost have to crave those quote unquote failures. So we're not, otherwise we're not learning, right? And so it's again, like running a marathon is what I used as an analogy in the secret sauce there. Running a marathon at its core is very simple. It's just putting one foot in front of the other a whole lot of times. But if you've ever run a marathon, which I have not, a half marathon's my longest distance. It's not, it's very complex to execute. You've got to fight the mind. You've got to, do some training. You got to stay tough. You got to be persistent, things like that. So what's, how does that show up for you, Terry?
Well, sorry, in my head, I'm thinking about, I have a friend that runs the Boston Marathon every year. Oh, wow. And there's a sports bar by the trail that he runs. And me and my buddies, every time he would come around, we would, yay! And about 10 minutes later, he'd come by again. Anyway, we thought it was funny at first, but then he lost his enthusiasm for our enthusiasm. But well, I guess I think you're right. It's a simple concept, and it's all pieces that you have to piece together. I think that's what you're saying, I guess that's my take.
Exactly. Yeah, it is exactly it. It's a very simple concept. We just need to have the willingness to execute on that every day. Right? And so I think that's where we try to make too much of it.
Yeah. And one more thing too, that when you start with this, with your concept, sometimes it shifts gears a little bit, when different opportunities arise, or new technologies arise, and all of a sudden you take a step back, and just like we do every year, we kind of review, where we've been, and here on this show, and where we'd like to go. And
yeah, what's next, and what do we need to improve? What do we need? Yeah, all those things.
Sometimes it's better to write it down in pencil than pen.
There you go. I like that a lot. All right. All right. So a couple more quick points here on how to build a business that you love. And again, don't let the how to build a business that you love get in the way of, really, it's how to be successful and fulfilled is what these points are really all about. So I think it's just, if you can allow it to become part of who you are, right? I think a lot of times we want to silo everything out. I want to have my personal life, I'm going to have my family life, I'm going to have my community life, and then I'm going to go to work, right? And that's the way society's kind of developed it, is that you silo all these things out. So, but the reality is, when you're really fulfilled, all of those things work together, right? Your family, your community, those help grow your business. Your business allows you to do things with your family and in your community. You're personally fulfilled because you're doing what you love. I think that there's a much more holistic view that a successful entrepreneur takes, or a successful person in general takes. We let go of those silos and the must do it this way kind of ideas, and we're willing to be open-minded to things. So how do you see that, Terry?
When you talk about being part of your identity, and your business will be your identity as well, and the way people see that business, they will see you. And when Kim and I go out to dinner or something, and we get fabulous service, we're like, that comes from the top. That's the owner of this restaurant. That's their personality coming out. If you get horrible 100%. Service, I always say that's from the top. The person that owns this establishment, that's the way they treat their employees, and their employees treat the customers that way. So, I mean, that's kind of a tangent off of there, but
I think you're exactly right.
Your identity.
Yep. Yeah. And you're totally right. I think, like you said, that always comes from the top. My wife and I do the same thing, where you look at those situations and you go, wow, how did that poor server get put in that place where they feel like that's the right thing to do, right? What's happening behind the scenes that we're missing, right? So I appreciate that you shared that. All right. Well, last thing that kind of, I think, and this is always the hardest thing for people to accept. I know at least it was for me for a long time, because I grew up in a world of blaming, complaining, and making excuses, right? and so to have a business that you love, to have a passion that you love, you've got to let go of those. You've got to be willing and able to overcome excuses, and it all comes from just having a deep-rooted reason, right? Because when our reason for doing it, some people might call it a why, or your passion, your purpose, that kind of thing. When that's so deep-rooted that none of it, the rest of it matters, right? Like, okay, yes, that is a big challenge. Yes, you've been dealt a crummy hand in that scenario. You can choose right now in this moment to go, yep, that's it. I've just got this great excuse, and I walk away. But if you're passionate enough about it, if your reason goes deep enough, you'll go, okay, just another obstacle. I got this. Right. And we figure that out. And so it's kind of turning the switch from finding the excuses, finding the justification for why you can't, and flipping that switch into why you can, right? Find the solution. So I think ultimately, at the end of the day, if you point out to me somebody that is always willing to look for the solution and positively overcome any challenge that's put in front of them, I can guarantee you that person's going to be successful.
Yeah, I remember when you did this secret sauce thinking, when you were talking about this, thinking about the entrepreneur and the 100 people who are going to tell you it's a bad idea, and the reason they're telling you it's a bad idea is because they can't get past the excuses to do the same thing. So they have to try to poison the well over here, and of course, certainly there are people who are going to encourage you, but there are going to be more people who say, no, that's you need a 9 to 5. You need a paycheck. You've got 2 kids, you've got 4 kids, you've got a mortgage. But if you have the right mindset, you can move forward and be successful. So
Yeah. I think, and it's funny because a lot of times those are people that truly love you, your parents, your significant others, things like that might fall into that area.
Oh,
They
sure.
just want to protect you. They want to take care of you, and they're seeing all the potential pitfalls, but what they're not seeing, and maybe this is, and you got to show them the deep passion that you have and the willingness you have to go through any challenges you have to do to get there. And, again, for me, that took a long time to get to that point. What I'm doing now, I don't, there's no guarantees, right? It's been hard. But I wouldn't trade it for the world. So, it just takes that next step and being willing to say, yep, cool, I appreciate your feedback. Next.
Yeah.
So,
People looking for solutions too. And I've talked about this on the show before.
yeah.
When I go in, I've run lots of different production facilities and what people will do. And in the first day, people are walking into your office saying, hey, we got this problem. What do you want to do? And the first thing I say is, well, what would you do?
Yeah.
Well, I would do this and this. Okay, that sounds like a good idea. Why don't you do that? And the next time they'll come in and say, okay, we've got this problem. And I think we should solve it like this. That's a great idea. Let's do that. And then they stop coming.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Be solution oriented. That I think you can kind of sum it up in that way for sure. So, all right, Terry. Well, that hopefully that was something, and we, in the show notes of this episode, we will have the links to all of these directly too, so you can just go watch them directly, but also the link to the whole playlist over on our YouTube channel, so you can go and watch any of them. You can even search and find something specific that you're looking for. But Terry, you had another one that was very well received, so you want to tell us about it?
Yeah, and my secret sauce, I think everyone I've done are more nuts and bolts. Production,
and I love that, by the way.
Yeah, production floor kind of things.
Balance me out, sir.
Well, this one is about ink mixing systems and screen printing. And this came about because I had somebody raise their hand in one of my screen printing classes and say, there's a large supplier in the Midwest that I won't name, who told me, this is the student talking, that Plastisol ink will be gone in a year. Everybody's going to water base. And I'm like, that's not true. But then it was kind of in the back of my mind, am I missing something? So I know lots of very large screen printing company owners. And so I started asking, and they would laugh. Are you kidding? Why would I? And hey, there are a lot of people who use water-based ink, and that's their thing. But most screen printers use Plastisol. And because it's almost foolproof, you can't screw it up, and that's what we production managers are looking for, things and systems that you can't screw up. Because if there's an opportunity to screw it up, somebody's gonna seize that opportunity. So, and the reason for this is you're going to have customers who come in who, I was a collegiate printer when I was in Kansas City, and every graphic that we did was a PMS match, Pantone matching system match. So, and sometimes not for very many pieces. And here's the example I use. Somebody's going to walk into your shop and say, I have a lawn tractor business, Tony's Lawn Tractors, and I sell John Deere lawn tractors. I don't want to say John Deere on my shirts, but I want my logo in John Deere green. That's a specific color. And so, but then Tony says to you, I only need 12 shirts. And so, I could go to my supplier and say, hey, I need PMS, whatever number John Deere green is. And they could make me a gallon or maybe even down to a quart. I need a pint. I need a little bit. I need enough ink to put on the edge of my squeegee blade. That's all I need. And so what you can do is you can buy an ink mixing system, and the ink mixing system is going to be able to give you the opportunity to make the smallest amount of ink that you want. You buy a scale, and you're going to have these little containers. The startup system is usually about $150. And then you can make all of those different specific colors that you want. Hey, if I'm on the campus of Arizona State here, and I'm going to have, oh, okay, how about U of A? Can I say U of
Okay,
A?
there. That's way better. Thank you.
I'll say Ohio University. That's where I graduated. And I want the Ohio University green. I'm probably gonna. In fact, I did when I was on that campus. I opened my first screen printing business. I would buy 5-gallon containers of Ohio University green because I was at the height. I was printing 40,000 garments a year just for the college bookstore there, and I went through tens of gallons of hundreds of gallons of that color. So anyway. I don't know what kind of back and forth we have on this. And
yeah, I mean, I think it makes a ton of sense though, right? Again, yes, I'm not a screen printer, not been an everyday screen printer, but it makes total sense. I mean, I can relate this to other areas of my life where, okay, cool, I need this. I have to go get this big amount. Okay, I'll figure out another way to sell more of that John Deere green. Really, right? And I know plastisol doesn't go bad necessarily, but at the same time, I mean, that's just money you're putting into that thing that's going to sit on the shelf and be holding on to that money for you. So if I, like you said, I need that much to put on the edge of my squeegee. If this system can do that, and so, because I always thought that there was a bigger investment for that ink mixing system up front. Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and that system, that's going to come with quarts of ink, and as you use up, and here's the thing that people don't realize, that it's, let's say I want to do Tennessee orange, and for anybody who doesn't know, Tennessee orange is a very light orange, and I just need a little bit of it. So people think, well, I'll take orange, I have that, and I'll take white, I have that, and I'll just mix it together, and it still looks like kind of orange mud because the colors you have on your shelf are not pure colors. They're mixtures of other colors. So in these ink mixing systems, they are specific, basically clean colors that you can mix together. And so when I run out of this quart, maybe I'm going to buy a gallon to replace it. And so, but yeah, I can make a lot of ink with the startup system in quart containers and clear base. You're going to have clear base in there as well. But
the question I would have, so how does it work exactly then? Exactly. Do they have like pigments then, and how do you know what to put in and all that kind of stuff?
It's going to come with a program for your computer, and you're going to type in PMS 187, and then you're going to say, I need one pint. And so you're going to take your little pint container, you're going to put it on your scale, you're going to zero it out. It's your gram scale, and then it's going to tell you put this much weight of this and this much weight of this, and you're just adding it. You stir it up. It's John Deere green. So, wow. And as I said, that when I was a collegiate printer in Kansas City, every cart that had screens and T-shirts and things that were lined up at the presses, they also had the custom mixed inks underneath. So I had a full-time ink person. All they did was they would get a copy of the orders in order of when we were printing them, and they would look at how many shirts there were going to be, and they would mix that ink specifically for that job. And occasionally you'd get like Stanford Cardinal and some community college somewhere used the exact same color. That was a win, man.
I love it. Huh. So I guess the other thing I curious about, right? So, because as a screen printer, right, there's pressure. We know that it's not going away. So let's get that out of the play here. But that's one thing I don't hear a lot about in the DTG DTF world is the color match scenario. Yeah. So I mean, this does really also enhance your screen printing business in that realm. Is that not sound correct?
Absolutely, but because for DTG and DTF and for sublimation, you're doing a lot of little tweaking to try to match colors because it's CMYK. So hitting that color exactly is a little trickier. Well, a lot trickier than this. I mean, I can get a dead-on match with a mixing system like this. And if you're a screen printer and you say, well, I'm never going to need that, when the local State Farm insurance agent's going to have a picnic, guess what? State Farm Insurance has specific PMS colors in their logo. So you are going to be asked for PMS matches sooner rather than later if you're a screen printer. And most established screen printers, they have this kit right there in their ink room, ready to go to make color. So, it gives you, it also will make it so that people buying from you will have a better opinion of you. It's gonna enhance your reputation because you have this additional capability. And in my classes, I have people come to my classes who are brand new. Half the classes usually never pulled a squeegee. The other half, they've been in business for a year or more. And still, rarely do I have somebody say, oh yeah, I've got one of those systems. They've been faking it. They've been trying to make these colors without realizing that they have the capability. And here's a pro tip for you. That little gram scale, you want to lock that up at night. You want to put it in your desk and lock your desk because they keep disappearing. I don't know why, but it's almost like some of your employees have some side gig where they need a gram scale. I'm just saying.
Okay. All right. Lock it up. Interesting. All right. Oh, that's good stuff, Terry. Well, there you go. So again, we will get that link to that secret sauce into the show notes here. So check that out and make sure ink mixing system hack. And you did that back in September of 2023, Terry. So
I meant to say, I apologize. I skipped right over that.
That's okay.
September 22nd, right.
There you go. There you go. All right. Well, Terry, let's take a quick break. We're about halfway point here. So let's take a quick break. And it's got something that I'm extremely, extremely excited about. I actually had a conversation this morning about it. And every time I talk about it, I start beaming. So I'll try to control myself.
You gotta love your business, man. You gotta love that business.
I 100% do. And this is one of the things I get to do with my business. So here we go. Check this out. Are you a small business that's feeling overwhelmed and underpaid? Do you want to find more balance and fulfillment in your small business?
We're here to share the good news about an upcoming small business retreat where you can come together as a community to facilitate falling in love with your business.
That's right. We're incredibly excited to announce the June 2024 Small Business Workshop and Retreat called Fundamentals Live. This event is based on the book, The Fundamentals of Business Success, and it's going to be your community designed to align your entrepreneurial spirit with meaningful success strategies.
Join us in O'Fallon, Missouri, just west of St. Louis, in discovering networking opportunities that go beyond mere connections. You're going to create relationships that inspire growth and collaboration.
With only 40 seats available, spots are already filling up. Don't miss out on your chance to transform yourself and your business June 7th and 8th in O'Fallon, Missouri.
All right. And Aaron, you had mentioned, I think it was last week, maybe the week before, that, hey, this isn't me standing in front of the classroom reading passages to you.
No, it really isn't. It's so I know the structure, right? I found this structure and I wrote a book about it. So the whole point of this is, okay, great. You got the structure. Yes, you could go do that, but I'm going to teach you how to implement the structure. And the way to do that is through an experience, right? You actually coming in, sitting down, we're going to sit down together. We're going to get into a little breakout group. So don't expect a whole lot of classroom style sitting there looking at slides. I mean, we're going to give you the information quickly, and then we're going to put you into these different experiences where you're doing the work. You're building this foundation. You are falling in love with your business because you're getting clarity on what it really is supposed to be. That's where we're going to start everything off, is help you have language to why you're doing this. And then from there it goes. So I could talk about this forever, Terry. Sorry.
Well, I'm picturing people leaving on day 2. They can't wait to get home and let's get this going,
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you say that, Terry, and that's what the hope is. I mean, that's the whole way this was designed. So what we're going to do at the end of day 2 in the evening, actually, we're doing what we call a future you party. And so we're going to have everybody, we're going to let them kind of debrief a little bit, to have some dinner and stuff like that. And then we're going to get back together and we're going to all agree to being in this space that we've got rented out. We're going to dress up a little bit. We're going to have some drinks around, and we're going to act as if we're 5 years in the future and we've achieved all these things that we just designed. And we're just going to spend some time doing that. And yes, it's going to feel a little weird at first. And the first time I did this, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so silly. And I'm like, you know what? It was a little silly until I finally decided to play full out. And it was one of the most powerful experiences I've ever had. It filled in a lot of the hows along the way. I felt like it was actually possible. And then I also had other people that better understood what I was trying to do that are now in my corner, sending me ideas, sending me resources, wanting to partner up with me. And so, sorry, I really,
that's awesome. What a great idea. I love that.
yeah. It's super cool. So anyway,
all right. Well, the next subject is, hey, guess what? Another screen printing with Plastisol ink one from September 1st, 2023. And it's screen printing softhand graphics. And my point here was right back to the idea that you need to have water-based ink to have those, I want a really soft hand feel. And so, I'm going to print that with water-based, and most of those garments that you buy that you think, well, that's really soft, that must be water-based. It's probably not. Some of them are, but it's probably Plastisol that's been thinned or use another technique to lay down less ink on the garment. So let me start with talking about thinning Plastisol ink. Yeah. Plastisol ink is what's called thixotropic. Thixotropic means that as it sits, it stiffens. So a lot of times all you need to do is scoop out some ink and stir it, and it will start to thin the ink. Anybody who's ever printed white ink and they're in a cold climate and they didn't have the heat on in their building over the weekend, and you're pulling or pushing that squeegee and it's like white roofing tar, and and as you go, though, it gets easier and easier. What you're doing is heating up and stirring that ink. So step number one to thinning your ink is just stir it up. Step number two is adding what's called curable reducer. Curable reducer is basically a very thin, clear Plastisol, and you mix it in your ink and you stir it up and print with it, and it lays down more like a water-based ink. So that also will give you a softer hand. And I'm just going to keep going through these here. And so the next technique is using a higher mesh count. And I will tell you this, most screen printers use too low a mesh count because they want to try to lay down enough ink so they don't have to flash a dark color or something like that. But I'm talking about bumping up where I'm normally at about a 160 mesh. That's 160 threads per inch for just anything. Well, if I want to lay down a really thin layer of ink, I'm going to bump up to like a 230 threads per inch. The higher the number, the smaller the holes, the less ink it's going to lay down. So if I combine thinning my ink, adding some curable reducer to my ink, and then printing through a higher mesh count, that print's going to feel just like a water-based print, but without the kind of headaches with water-based ink. Because water-based ink, if you print and then you flood ink into the screen and you go take a phone call that you think is going to take 2 minutes and it takes 20 minutes, you come back, that water-based ink could very well be dry in your screen and you're starting all over again. Plastisol will never dry in your screen. You could print on Friday, and let's say that I have the day off on President's Day because I work at a bank. But I could go for a 3-day weekend and come back and just start pulling that squeegee or pushing that squeegee again. It will not dry in that screen. Plastisol ink will not dry until it reaches 320 degrees, no matter how long it sits in the screen. Aaron, you remember when we did screen printing classes at US Screen, and we did classes once a month, and there was one screen that was the very first screen, who wants to print a shirt? And we never took the ink out of it. All we did was add more ink to it every month.
I was going to say, that one was always set up. You could go in there anytime, do it. Exactly. And like I said, that ink was the same ink that had been there. Like I said, just adding it. I love it.
So anyway, that's basically how to print softhand. But I have a caution here also.
Yes.
your suppliers, a lot of times, I tell people who come to my class, you're probably going to know more about screen printing, garment decorating when you leave this class than the person who answers the phone at your supplier. And nothing against the suppliers, but they sell screen printing supplies, they sell embroidery supplies, they sell sign supplies, they sell DTG and DTF supplies, they sell film, they sell printers. And so for the most part, they're not going to be expert at this. So when you call and say, I want curable reducer, they might say, well, we have viscosity reducer. It's the same thing. It's not the same thing. The viscosity reducer is basically the liquid that's in plastisol ink. And so by adding more, you are going to thin the ink, but here's how plastisol cures. There's PVC resin, basically plastic powder, and there's the liquid, the plasticizer. And under heat, the PVC resin will start absorbing that liquid. And what happens when it's completely absorbed at 320 degrees? It's cured now and forever. If you add more liquid, more plasticizer, viscosity reducer, and you add too much, when that PVC resin is full of liquid, it can't absorb anymore, and you still have liquid in your ink. And so it's going to print, and you think it's all good. Your customer washes it, and little blotches of ink are just going to wash out because it's uncured plasticizer that couldn't be absorbed. So I'm going to say don't ever buy viscosity reducer because there's too much risk of somebody mixing up wrong. The curable reducer, yeah, it's going to say add this much per weight or whatever. In reality, you could take a scoop, throw it in your ink, and stir it up. You can never do it wrong. It will cure no matter how much you put into the ink. So, if you want to use water-based ink, more power to you. It's a little trickier to do, especially if you have employees who just decide to walk away and go have a Mountain Dew and a candy bar out on the dock and come back and that screen's clogged up, because I left it sitting too long. So the easy way to do in a production setting is thin down your ink, print through a higher mesh, and have that really. So I keep rubbing this embroidery piece I have here. But,
I'll do it for you.
Have a nice thin print. So anyway, I don't know if you have comment on that.
Yeah, no, I do. And I think it's interesting, right? Because it tied into what you had said at the start of the other one too, whereas there's just definitely a misconception that if you want soft hand, right? Like everything I've heard, not, and I'm just hearing from the outside looking in, not talking to the screen printers like you are, right? That, yeah, you've got to have water-based to get a soft hand, or, that's why you should go to DTG or DTF or whatever. I've felt some screen prints that have been made with these appropriate methods like you talk about here. And I don't know, I don't think, especially DTF doesn't have any rival to that. I mean, a well screen printed shirt is a wonderful shirt to wear. So
well, the problem out there in the world is, and you may have heard me say this before, there are lots and lots and lots of screen printers. There aren't very many good screen printers. So it is a craft. It is an art. We had Pierre from what's this company? Blue Half Moon, Blue Moon, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Jem Nicky's his last name, but I can't remember his company name off the top of my head.
He and we had him on our show because he had gotten some awards for excellence in printing. Yeah. And I said, wait, you said you've been in business for 3 years and that's all, and you're winning all these awards. And I said, how did you accomplish that? And he goes, Terry, it was super easy. I just worked at the craft for about 100 hours a week for the first 3 years I was running a business. And he is a major contract screen printer today because he put in the time to learn this type of thing. And I had somebody walk into my office one day and say, I've been doing this for 3 years. I know everything there is to know about screen printing. And at the time I said, well, I've been doing this for 25 years. And gosh, I feel like I learn something new every day. And she started to cry. I don't know if it was because that was going to be followed with, so I deserve a raise or what? But she began to cry and got up and walked out of my office, and we never had the conversation again.
Okay.
But
All right.
there's something new to learn every day, no matter how simple your technology is. There's something new that you can learn. And man, even in my classes, I'll have somebody raise their hand and say, I tried it like this. And I'm like, wow, I'd never thought about that. That's a really, really good idea. I'm going to try that myself. So
yeah, love it.
Anyway.
I love it. Cool,
So,
Terry. Well,
so
that's some good
expect
stuff.
more of these nuts and bolts kind of garment decorating, whether it's screen printing, DTG, DTF, shared by me, just like Eric is going to be sharing lots of embroidery. So
yeah, definitely. All right. And I will continue to share the mindset stuff. So don't you guys worry. We're going to have you covered. And today we've got Mr. Great Dane joining us, Dane Clement, and he's going to be sharing some things about artwork too. So we're getting all of your areas covered here. So speaking of, this is probably as nuts and bolts as I'll get, because I'm not doing this stuff on a day-to-day basis. So I don't have that access. I mean, I could if I really wanted to, but that stuff doesn't excite me as much. But this stuff does excite me. And I know sometimes you have a little bit of a love-hate with it, and we have to be careful. And we should probably just do all hail Skynet. But this was actually one of the early ones. I don't know if this was the first one, but definitely towards the beginning of when we started doing this back in middle of 2023. And this secret sauce was called Mastering AI Communications, the secret sauce for effective ChatGPT prompts. And for those of you that aren't familiar, ChatGPT is an AI. It's a LLM. They call it a large language model. And you talk to it like it's a person almost, and it's a little bit creepy, it's a little bit weird, but that's the way that it works. And so I dug into it because I thought this was really interesting, but I wanted to understand, because I saw a lot of people. It was really funny when ChatGPT first came out. I would get emails from somebody, and you'd read the email and you're like, okay, yep, that's them, and then it was about like this. And then all of a sudden, ChatGPT hit the scene. Everybody was talking about it. You couldn't, even get on. And like a week later, I see this person's email that's crafted way different, sounds completely different, and way longer. And I'm going, hold on a second. And so I started thinking about that. Like, how should we look at this thing, right? Is this going to take over and extinct human society, or is this a partner to be had? And so far, who knows what's going to happen in the future, but as of today, to me, it's still a partner. And I think it starts off by just kind of understanding what it's doing. And so I'm again, let me just preface this with, I know enough to be dangerous here. So I'm not going to give you these specific details of what's going on in the background, the algorithm, I don't understand that. But from my use of it, and I use it pretty heavily on a daily basis, basically what it's doing is it's saying, okay, here's the information. I'm going to take everything that's out there that's available to me. And that's a whole nother situation with where they're getting the information from. But that, again, it's a tool right now. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to try to pile all that together into a nice pile and then clean it out and give you what I think is a best response. And so we have to be really specific with what we're asking of it. I almost look at it, Terry, like it's a toddler. Like you're explaining something to a toddler, and yet you're receiving information that's like coming from a genius, right? If you explain to it like it's a toddler. Now, the flip side of that is also true. They call this hallucination that AIs will do, or I just call it being lazy or dumb. But the reality is, if you give it a really vague and not very clear request, then it feels like a toddler is replying to you. And so it's like, if you give it clarity, you get really specific about what you want, what the details you're trying to get out the other side, even the format, the tone. I mean, you can tell it all sorts of things. And so that's really, I guess, the first point I was making is let's make sure that we understand how to interact with it. And I've found that even at times, I've probably spent more time feeding stuff into the AI than if I would have just wrote it by myself. Right. And so it's that balancing act for sure. But the more you interact with that conversation, the better it gets. So that's the first part. Terry, the second, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that Dane may mention this in his secret sauce today, but he looked at the artwork you get from AI, and at first he was like, oh, man, I've practiced this craft for decades, and now somebody can say I want a rabbit and an army helmet and driving a tank, and boom, there it is. But then he said, but you know what? Rather than gripe about it, I embraced it, and he uses it himself, which he's going to talk about. So, I mean, I think that's kind of your take on it too. And when you first started telling me about this, I'm thinking, man, I spent 4 years in college getting a journalism degree. I've written books and hundreds of articles, and now people are going to be able to just, have the Skynet write the article for you. But just like you're saying, the emails that you read, you have to have you in those things that you write as well.
Yes.
So I think I'm safe for now.
Yeah, I think you are. Well, it's just not a copy and paste. I mean, I think that's how people use it incorrectly, is they just think it's a copy and paste, right? Plug in this, get a response, copy that response, paste it into my email. All things are good. You're still trying to get humans to open up their wallet, right? I mean, that at the end of the day, you've got to get a human to open up their wallet, and a human's going to go, that's not that person, that's not who I was trying to interact with. So, but to your point though, too, and I'm sure Dane has talked about this on our show before, and he may bring it up in the secret sauce here, but your 4-year degree as a journalist degree, you're going to actually get better information out of ChatGPT than somebody that doesn't have that, because you're going to know, okay, here's what tone we want this to be in. Here's, all this learning that I did that I can add to the front end of it, and then it'll just do the busy work on the back end for you. So there's definitely something to be said there. And so I guess the other part that I learned the hard way is, as we're typing, and again, I found myself putting a lot of information in to get a little bit of information out. Well, we're going fast, right? And we're not, maybe our spelling's not great. Maybe the grammar doesn't really, and yes, ChatGPT or the other AI programs out there can understand that, right? That it's not the end of the world if you misspell something. But the reality is, the better you can make that, also, the better your response is going to be. So I actually still keep I use Grammarly on my computer, so it corrects my spelling and grammar errors. Terry's got a book to help us out.
Here's my coffee mug.
I'm totally judging you based on your grammar usage. See, I would put the one that was crossed out, Terry, but Grammarly would fix me up. So that's another point. And I think just kind of the last point on this one, Terry, and I'm curious to kind of get your take, is, again, this goes back to what you get, garbage in, garbage out. I think that's always going to be, that law of nature is always going to be the truth, I think. But it becomes a conversation, right? So I keep, like, when I'm having it help me with something specific, I've got a conversation that I use to help me with secret sauce, for example. I've got a conversation that I use to help me with the working on the training event that I'm putting on in June, right? And so it gets to know the information, it holds on to that, and it becomes a conversation. And if you really want to go creepy, right, you can even go on the app version. You can actually then start having a actual conversation with it. So I don't know if I want to do this live or not, but what the heck. Right. So we go in there.
Open the doors.
Yes, I'm going to open the door here, Hal. So tell me what you know about Terry Combs. We'll find out.
I don't have specific information on an individual named Terry Combs.
Okay.
Without more context or details, it's challenging to provide accurate information about a person, especially if they are not a widely
All right. So let me try one more time. Can you tell me what you know about Terry Combs from his website, terrycombs.com? We'll try this, Terry. I don't know, but you literally can go to this point. So it's crunching right now. I hope you guys can hear this a little bit.
Yeah, we can hear it.
Okay. Well, it's crunching, so we'll see.
Terry Combs is a Yale University graduate who has
Oh,
made significant contributions to the aviation
oh,
industry,
look at this guy.
following in the footsteps of his father.
All right. But see,
Oh, great. Terry Combs is more successful than me.
yeah, he's probably washed up and no, but and there's another point that I think is really important that maybe didn't come up in the secret sauce, but I'm glad we're talking about this here as we kind of wrap this up. Is the other thing I've noticed about ChatGPT and the other AI models, it's the best liar in the world. Like it will basically state items as if it's complete fact, and you go and check it out, and you kind of go, well, wait a second, no, this says this, and oh yeah, you're right, okay, like what? So you don't that's the other problem. That people have gotten into a lot of trouble in the news world, for example, where they've turned over their writing to ChatGPT. They don't go check the sources, and they get proven that it's wrong, and so anyhow.
Yeah.
It's a great tool. It can help get you to a certain point. It can give you some different ideas, get you started, but it's not a replacement for what it is that you're trying to do. So that's really kind of the mastering the art of it, Terry, I think, from my mind.
I liked what you did with it when you and I, for Printing United, we did basically a class for DTG and DTF printing that we recorded. Yeah. And they wanted each section to have 3 to 5 basically test questions. And I was just reading through and I was trying to think of questions, and you were like, oh, I already did mine. I just had Chat GPT do it. And it went through and it picked out points. Yeah. And that is a great use for a product like this, I think.
I agree. Yeah. And so, if you want to dive into it, I mean, right now, ChatGPT is still only $20 a month. I'm waiting for the shoe to drop, but and you can still use it free, and it's pretty good. But if you want to get into some deeper stuff with it, that $20 a month is going to be some of the best $20 you've spent. So anyhow,
first one's
all right, Terry. Well, Terry, we are. This has been a great show here, but we need to. We still got to get Dane in here for secret sauce. So how about you share with us where Terry Combs is going to be out on the road here?
Absolutely. Yeah. My next screen printing business course is a 2-day class over the weekend. We'll be in Chicago with Atlas Screen Supply on March 9th and 10th. I will be at Workhorse Products in Phoenix on May 4th and 5th. And you can sign up for that on my website, terrycombs.com. The Chicago class, you sign up at atlasScreenSupply.com, but I have the link on my website. And I'll be speaking at Impressions Expo in Atlantic City next month. And I'll be doing the presentation. Everything you've heard about DTG and DTF printing on the internet is wrong. And that is Friday, March 22nd. And you can watch for upcoming events at terrycombs.com. How about you, Aaron?
Yeah. So you mentioned Atlantic City. I will be out there in Atlantic City as well. Thursday, March 21st, I have my first seminar, which is called Elevating Your Business with AI. We're going to talk about what we just got done talking about there, harnessing ChatGPT for generative marketing. And so we'll cover a lot of those points and more. My second session is on Friday, the 22nd, and it is how to master pricing, making your business unstoppable. And so I'm excited to get back. It's been a little while since I've been out in Atlantic City. So I don't know if we're going to try to catch the train again, Terry, but we'll hope for a better trip.
We're not going to do
that. Okay. And then so from there, I head off to Graphics Pro in Irving, Texas on actually, I will be in Irving, Texas first. I got them flipped. So Irving, Texas is March 9th. So that'll be my next event, actually. And I'm just teaching one class there on Saturday, how to master pricing for profit. So similar to the Atlantic City pricing one, but we'll tune it for the folks at Graphics Pro there. And so you can check that out. The cool part about the Graphics Pro is that's actually sponsored by Graphics Pro magazine. So that training is free if you are in the Irving area. So you can just show up and join us on that training. Mentioned the book earlier in the Fundamentals Live program. So if you are interested in a copy of that book, it is available as an ebook and also as a paperback version that you can buy right off of Amazon. So I'm already getting a ton of wonderful feedback on it, and I really appreciate that. And so I'd really love to hear if you've got the book, how you're progressing with it. How are the fundamentals being integrated into your business? Is it helping you do what I'm trying to do, help you fall deeper in love with your business. So if you want to check that out, and I'll see if I can find it. There it is. You go over to osg.link/FBS. And then as the promotion said during the middle of the show there, Terry, June 7th and 8th, Fundamentals Live is happening, and really excited to be bringing that to folks. There are only, well, at the time of this show, there's only 38 spots left. And so we just started announcing it. I've already got 2 people signed up right away. Other people have already expressed interest, just checking their calendars, making sure it's all going to work out for them. So I don't have any doubt that this is going to fill up. And so don't be the person that's on the waiting list. Just go over to osg.link/fun live, and you can get signed up. There's a couple of different payment options. You can just pay all at once, or you can do 3 equal payments. We try to keep the investment down because we do really want to make sure that it's accessible to everybody. And so we're just trying to cover our costs to make sure that you get in there and have an amazing experience. So I think that's good enough for me this week, Terry. Lots of other things still happening, but that's plenty to get us started here. So
Very good. Very good. Well,
yeah.
I'm ready to hear from Dane and hear a little bit of secret sauce. How about you?
I am too. Let's do it. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Dane Clement with Stalls. In today's secret sauce, I'm going to show you how to properly set up a raster art file. Whether you're going to create your own artwork or you're going to use something from one of the AI generators, you got to know how to set it up properly in order to use it. Today I'm going to use Photoshop. You can use any image editing software you want, Corel Photo Paint, Affinity Photo, but I like Photoshop, and I think that's the best one out there, basically. So here we go. So the first thing we need to do is go to the File menu, come down to New. And in this dialog box, this is where everything happens. If you plug in the correct information on the right-hand side of this window, everything's going to be set up properly for you. So if you're going to create your own artwork, you're ready to go. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here. I'm going to change my pixels to inches because that makes more sense to me, right? And I know that with me at Great Dane Graphics, that we've done it for 30 years, is when we create our artwork, we create it at 14 inches by 14 inches. And the resolution is very important. That's 300 pixels per inch. That is a high-res file. We can print anything we want in our industry as long as we have this kind of resolution at the actual size or larger than we actually need it. Now, when it comes to color mode, I'm going to always create my artwork in RGB. Always, always, end of story. I don't care if I'm printing to a CMYK printer. This is one of those things I get a lot of questions on. If you're going to print it digitally to DTG or dye sublimation or DTF or one of those things, everybody says, well, if I'm going to print to CMYK, why don't I generate my artwork in CMYK? That way I know I'm in Gamut and all that sort of thing. Makes sense, but the RIP software from almost every printer I'm aware of out there will take an RGB PNG file and it will do the math and do the conversion, and you will get as accurate as possible on the conversion to the print, right? So I always use RGB in this story. Always create it on a transparent background, because if you don't, then you got to learn how to take that artwork off of a background, a white background, black, whatever you happen to create it on. So if you create it using a transparent background, then you're already set. You're good to go. You don't have that step to worry about. All right, so now next thing in this advanced window here, right? So if I go to color profile, right now it says don't manage profile. So I use Adobe RGB personally, 1998 always. That gives me my richest colors. If you're a digital printer, quick little side note, your blacks aren't black, your colors are kind of just laying there. Try that profile alone just to change it and see what happens, right? But what you can do, most of the printers out there are going to say, hey, if you want to get accurate color, then use sRGB as your color profile. It's basically like a dumbed down version of RGB, so it doesn't get all the way out to the edges. So check with your manufacturer, whatever equipment you're using. We'll set that up. We'll hit create, and we have this window. Now we're ready to create anything we want. We're at proper size, resolution, and we're good to go. Now, if you use AI artwork generators, all of them out there that I'm aware of, most of them, the initial up sample that you will get, right? When you pick an image, you say, I like this one, download it. Unless you upsample it in that software, some of them allow it, some of them don't, then it's going to give it to you at 1024 by 1024 pixels. So let's go ahead and do this. All right, so I have a file opened. And if you look at it, it's pretty cool looking Jaguar, right? And I look at my layers over here, it's flattened on a black background. So if I come over the image and I come down to image size and I take a look, it's 1024 pixels by 1024 pixels at 72 dpi. Now that looks pretty good on my screen. Here's the problem. When I make this 300, I'm going to go to inches so you can make sense of it, right? So if I do this, 300 pixels at using my inches, it's at 3.4 by 3.4 inches. That's this big. That's too small to work. So that's why you have to use upsamplers, and that's for another video. But if you create the artwork, do the resolution that we just went over, you'll be good to go in anything you need to print.
All right. I love having Dane as the Two Regular Guys art guy. He always brings the sauce.
Yes, he does. He does. Thank you so much, Dane. That was wonderful. Well, Terry, what a great show today. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed kind of this trip down memory lane and getting to talk about some passion topics for us. And I love the secret sauce too. So high five to you, man. That's been
you
awesome.
as well.
Yeah,
your
definitely.
concept. I love it.
All right. Well, we've come to the close of another show. Thank you guys so much. Thanks to Dane for joining us today. And looking forward to talking to everybody again soon here.
All right. We want to thank our show producer, Eric Campbell. Eric will be back with us next week. And looking forward to talking to Eric and having him. He's going to be doing a presentation on the show here too sometime soon. We just got to get him on the schedule. But Eric is going to be our guest, not only the producer but our guest.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to having Eric on, and looking forward to having Eric back next week because we're going to need him. We're going to do something a little bit unusual. We're always kind of trying things new here. So I am actually going to be traveling. It's about a 3-hour trip. I'm going to go up and hang out with my friend Sean Stewart, who's with American Print and Supply. And I'm going to be live at their location in Peoria, Illinois, and we're going to walk through the setup. They do a whole bunch of things there, from DTF printers to DTF printing to sublimation, wholesale to cut and sew to UV printing. And I don't know. He's been talking a lot about what's going to happen. I think it's going to be really cool. So I'm excited to see how this all comes together. And we're going to really just kind of walk through a digital production facility and ask him about it and try to break things and just cause as much chaos as we can. So tune in.
Well, Sean talks a lot about everything, so that'll be a fun show.
Yeah, definitely. This will be the one time where maybe you and I don't do all the talking, so we'll see.
I'm going to say yes.
I agree.
All right. Until then, I'm Terry Combs. He's Aaron Montgomery.
And that was the Two Regular Guys.
Here we go. We're out.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening to Two Regular Guys. Check out our website at tworegularguys.com. That's the number 2, regularguys.com. You can also interact with us over at our Facebook page, facebook.com/tworegularguys, or send us a tweet, twitter.com/tworegularguys. And we have a YouTube page. You can find all that from our website, tworegularguys.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to spending some time with you again next week.